Hi, good morning. It's Wycliffe Barrett here from Wycliffe Barrett Flies Xplane over on Twitch TV, and this morning I am going to talk about why did I change from FSX to Xplane. Okay, why did I change? And it's quite simple. I was getting fed up with all the crash to desktops, the out of memory messages, fatal exception errors, etc, etc. I've got a high-end machine, but still I was having these problems, okay, and I'm just getting fed up of it. So I looked for an alternative. There were only a couple around. DCS World, which is brilliant, but it's a military sim, and I've done that, and I don't fly military sims anymore. I still got some on my shelf up here, but I don't fly those anymore. Flight Gear doesn't fit any of my requirements, and at the time you couldn't fly online with it. They're still trying to get that to work, but it wasn't for me. I did have xplane10 demos a few years ago, which I didn't like. I thought it was horrible. I didn't like the graphics, didn't like the menu system. I couldn't even take off it, I don't think, in the demo, so I didn't bother with it. But then xplane10 came along, and people were talking about it, and there was a real buzz about it, and I started watching videos on YouTube, and I thought, let's have a look. And so for the price of a high-end aircraft, so 1 month's spending money on FSX, I bought xplane10, and I have to say I have never looked back at all. I wrote a letter for PC Pilot called Time for Change, which I wrote this after I'd had Xplane a few months, and that letter was explaining why I changed, and the reason was that there's a plausible world, there's a real world weather engine, planes fly, they're using a different kind of process and algorithm. It's based on blade element theory, and Leonardo da Vinci came up with blade element theory, believe it or not, in the 16th century. So kind of seemed as if it might have some potential, so I installed it, and immediately I could see the difference. Now, the key thing here is that it is different, and a lot of people that I've spoken to, when they ask about Xplane, I kind of quote Yoda at them, which is you must unlearn everything you have learned, and it is really true, because Xplane is different. It does things slightly differently, it looks different. The installation of scenery is different, the installation of aircraft are different. It's all different from FSX, but that doesn't mean it's impossible to learn. It isn't. And in fact, when people look at it, they say, wow, this is just so complex, all these menus. It is complex. There are lots of things for you to fiddle with, but because of that, that is the power of Xplane. Yeah, that is the power of Xplane. And the flight experience, for me, far surpasses anything in FSX. Don't get me wrong, when FSX is working and everything is sweet, it can look absolutely superb, but when it starts going wrong and you start spending more time tweaking and fixing and fiddling than flying, then that's when you need to look for alternatives, and that's what I did, and I am totally happy with that. Now, people say, well, what about all the money you spent on FSX? Well, yeah, I spent a lot of money, just like everybody else. I would say a few £1,000s. Certainly, in terms of hardware, upgrade your PC every year. Well, we do that anyway, maybe, or every 18 months, those of us who can afford it. But it's what you buy to get FSX to look as good as it looks. So, FSX, Service Pack 1, Service Pack 2, Rex Sky textures, Active Sky Nex, Orbex Global, maybe, Orbex United Kingdom if you live in the UK. Then there's all the airports that you can buy. You can buy Orbex airports, you can buy UK 2000 airports, you can buy airports from Aerosoft, they're mega scenery airports. You're talking lots and lots of money. Fine. In Xplane, it's free. Okay, there is some payware aircraft, and the payware aircraft are very, very good. Forget about what people say, them being rubbish. They're not. They're very good. In my view, they're comparable to PMDG. And when we get the IXEG 737 and the FlyJ Sim 737 Classic Twinjet, and when PMDG finally get their act together and come into Xplane, what's the difference? What's the difference? The difference is flight dynamics, flight physics, a sim that will run at 60 to 70 frames per second in 64-bit mode, utilizing all of the resources of your PC. Okay, we're still going to have the other guys, the other YouTubers, the other Twitchers flying FSX and showing you exactly what it can do. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, when it's running nice, it looks great. But it's an old software, it's an old program, and it's beginning to creak a little bit. So you have to look at the alternatives sometimes, which is what I did. I'm quite happy that I did, because Xplane10, certainly the future. So all I can say is download the demo, have a look at the YouTube videos, come and follow me on Twitch TV/Wycliffe Barrett, and make up your own mind. Make up your own mind. Okay, nice speaking. Bye bye.